I wanted to see if you wanted to say something about our friend Norm Macdonald, who passed away.
Oh, my
funny.
God.
And yeah.
There was no one funnier. Brilliant Canadian, you know.
And tonight, the Lifetime Achievement Award will be presented to Mr. Martin Short. It's the Academy's way of saying, thank you so much, we've had enough. Well, Don Rickles. As a friend, it's over.
You know, we do, in our show, we do a tribute to comedians. I'm serious about this, and we name different comedians like Bob Newhart and people. And we do a tribute to Norm Macdonald, and we use one of his lines. We say, and this is one of his lines, he said, there's only two categories of cliff diving, grand champion and stuff on a rock.
Besides cliff diving, you ever see that guy hopping off a cliff, trying to pass that off as a sport, you know? Man, look at kind of like attempted suicide as a sport there. Next week they got washing down Quaaludes with wood alcohol. That's next week. Can you believe that? No, I'm just making that part up. But cliff diving, what a crazy... And you can't tell who's better either. You see a guy hopping off a cliff and you go, man, look at that. And then the next guy hops off a cliff, you go, oh, look at that again there. Another guy hopping off a cliff. But you can't tell who's better, you know. If you survive it all, you're a great there's only a couple of different levels of cliff diving. It's grand champion and then stuff on a rock over there. One of the two. It's a kind of a thing.
But I really think that in comedy particularly, the originals stand out the most, and they stay with us long after they're gone. And there was no one more original than Norm Macdonald. Yeah. Yeah. There was no one who did his style. There was no one who had his rhythms. He was remarkable and so kind and funny.
Well, the great thing about Lauren is you could do anything you wanted. He would tell you wise things, you know, like wisdom or whatever.
He's like a little Buddha guy, right?
Yes, yeah.
Did it ever make sense, or
not to me?
You'd always walk away going, "What the fuck?"
To other people, it did. Like I remember one time he wanted me. Like this was actually with Weekend Update. They wanted me to do Weekend Update with a lady.
Yeah.
Like two of us. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that sounds like shit. I don't want to fucking, that sounds like shit. Like, I'm like, if there's a lady and a dude, like, what are we making fun of local news? What the fuck is that? He's like, no. He's like, you'll be, he had some crazy, he goes like, I think he liked me because I didn't understand what he was talking about all that. And he goes like, you'll be Fred Astaire and she'll be Ginger. You'll, like, you know, give her the sex, like, a comedy, and she'll give you the sex. And I was like, the dancers? What? And I didn't know what he was fucking talking about. Yeah. So anyways, I go, I don't want to fucking do it with a lady. Let Franken do it. You know? Yeah. So
Franken was going to do it?
Yeah, it was Frank and me and somebody else. So I didn't care that much about it. So because I could just do stand-up. But anyways, what happened was funny. Like Steve Martin walked in because he was hosting. Yeah. And Lauren, to embarrass me, went, let's see what Steve thinks about it. And Steve Martin doesn't give a fuck about anything. So, but he goes, Norm wants to with the lady, and what he thinks. And he does this big, long spiel, and Steve Martin's completely uninterested.
Been dragged into something you wanted no part of.
But luckily, he fucking just said out of the blue, he goes, oh, fuck. He goes, I did this award show with some broad, and they paired me up with her, and she fucked everything up. Like, I guess they stuck him with something. Yeah. So then Lauren goes, oh, there's some support from an unexpected place.
And that's how you got the solo update?
Yeah, Steve Martin, because he was such a hero to Lauren.
You had a bad experience with an award show, and you get to run the solo on the update?
Yeah, it was awesome.
That's a fucking good moment.
But I would have been in big trouble with a lady. But then later they did it with a lady and a dude. Because he kept saying, oh, remember, because I know Saturday Night Live, you know, like all of us, right? Yeah. And he was like, remember Jane and Dan? And I was like, that was shit. Like, I remember Jane, you ignorant slut. Right. But I also remember all the rest of the fucking shit. Like, he had a hat on and pretended to be from the, like, they played characters. Yeah. And I was not interested in that because Dennis kind of changed it to Dennis Miller
where you do jokes.
Where you do jokes. And you're not doing a parody of a fucking.
And finally, comedy legend Jerry Lewis. May I tell you what a joy and a thrill and all this stuff it is to be here? It's super duper. Good luck.
Yeah, we're going to need it.
All three of you. The answer is John Travolta learned how to dance for this 1977 hit movie. Mr. Lewis.
If I remember correctly, Alex, that would be Dancing for Ladies! I had to go for it.
No. That is incorrect also. What is Saturday Night Fever?
Oh.
The answer is Popeye is this sort of man. Mr. Lewis.
I got the answer, Alex. You want the answers? It's simple. They're terrified of a perfectionist. They being the people who are running the studios this week.
Jerry Lewis has wandered off somewhere. Let's see if he had anything. Apparently his answer was an outline of half of his hand. And he wagered the other half of his hand. That's beautiful. Well, I'd like to thank all of our celebrities for joining us this
I'm sorry I
evening.
was late. I was in the little boy's room. Oh, boy, I didn't mean to do that.
The sketch that you got on the air, and you say in your book, hey, you know, I didn't originate this sketch. I kind of stole this sketch with permission. But the famous Jeopardy bit.
Yes, Jeopardy sketch.
Where you play Burt
yes,
Reynolds,
yes.
and you say Will Ferrell was key to that sketch because he played such a great Jeopardy host.
Yes.
But that thing was one of the most popular sketches, and you pitched that, but you say, you admit in your memoir that, hey, that's something I got from SCTV.
Yeah, yeah.
And I waited till Martin Short was a guest on the show, and I pitched it and said, can we do the Jeopardy thing?
Yeah. They did a sketch on SCTV when I was a child called Halfwits, and it was it even Alex Trebek was in the sketch because he was a Canadian, and it was. You know, it was just these kids. It was, you know, when two schools would fight each other, and so they were all, it was real stupid. So I always loved that show, and I said, you know, Celebrity Jeopardy, they always ask such easy questions, and the celebrities are all so stupid. It would be great to do it. Unfortunately, they've already done it, and I feel like I shouldn't just steal a sketch.
Right.
So when Mr. Short came to do the show, who later became my friend, I said, who wrote that sketch? You know, and he said, Eugene Levy. And I said, maybe we could phone him, you know, and
get permission.
Get permission. And so he said, yeah, we'll do a conference call. And I said, no, I'll phone, you know. I'm a man, you know.
Yeah.
So I phoned Eugene Levy, and I asked him, I told him the whole sketch. I said how much I loved the first one, and I asked permission, and he was kind enough to give it to me.
There was no better show than that SCTV. That was unbelievable,
God,
right?
It was amazing.
It was amazing.
Unbelievable. Friend for a while. We were in negotiations.
Yeah, how'd that break down?
I don't know. I met him. He was fucking funny, and he made me laugh, and he was laughing at me and shit. So I said, hey, we should be friends and stuff. And he said, yeah, well, let's be friends. You go to a cottage. And I was like, fuck, I'd have to go to a cottage, you know. And then so it never caught on because the cottage was in my head and shit.
What do you
but
mean?
Still, I would like, you know, that guy would be cool to fucking hang out with.
What do you mean?
I met him.
That would be a good friend
But then
for you.
going to a cottage, you understand?
I don't want to go to a cottage.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem
All of
with
a sudden, you're going on a cottage on a plane.
But that's the problem.
Maybe I
Norm,
should have done this.
Norm,
what?
that's the problem
What's
with
that?
you. So if someone suggests something right away, it's not
Too guarded. I know what you're
it's
saying.
not too. It's not cool enough for you. Where would
They're
you
not
go
cool
with Martin
enough.
Short?
I think
Martin Short says, "Let's go to a cottage
No, I'm
and
not
hang
saying
out."
that. I'm
Yeah.
saying, like, I think you're right when I said I'm too guarded. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
you
not
don't
willing
wanna
to do things.
You don't want to be trapped in a cottage with Martin Short. The
No, I
idea,
love that
the idea
part.
of being friends with Martin Short is fun. The idea of being in a cottage with Martin Short and then having the pressure to talk and to interact with one another.
Yeah.
I understand. I'm the same way.
Yeah.
It wouldn't work out for you,
Yeah.
and it wouldn't work out for me either.
But you go on that vacation.
But maybe in
with,
another lifetime.
Yeah.